at an angle so I can kind of shade that way. So you can do it a lot like your real traditional pencil. Make this really dark. And darken that area up. So for all those who are used to just drawing with pencil, here's a great tool to try out and see how it feels. So up here you can change your type of tip shape. I'm using the Real 6B. You can change it to B to H. H's for pencils means there's more silver in the lead, so it's generally harder and not as dark, as you see right there. B's, they have this darker and wider and thicker feel. So even a 2B you'll notice compared to the 2H, how that lays right on. See how much darker that is? It means there's more graphite. You can change it to, let's say, there's different types. There's mechanical pencils for those who like mechanical pencils, different sketch pencils, a sharp pencil, 2B, etc., etc., etc. I recommend trying to play with these and see how they feel like. This is really, this is supposed to be their flat pencil. If you ever use a flat pencil, it does kind of look like this. Most of the paints in here and tools do mimic real life, so gouache. Here we go. Gouache is very, very heavy in color. It's pretty solid, unlike watercolor. You can also play with watercolor. Those are considered wet mediums. So wet mediums will create yourself a brand new wet layer. So if I go here, I'm going to change to watercolor, for example. Let's use blue. If I paint across, notice how everything else isn't affected, just because I'm a separate layer. And watercolor shouldn't affect all of those. But the cool thing is what happens afterwards. It takes into effect what watercolor would actually do afterwards. Now if I take red and I paint the red across, it starts trying to mix with it. Now you have that purplish color because when you get wet paint mixing with other wet paint, you can get this little blend. If you use white, that's just like adding more water to the area, so it takes a while to think. Like I said earlier, Painter is very processor intensive, but as you can see right there, it just added water, now everything's dripping down. Here's another important tool. A lot of people, when you're painting in real life, you don't keep your canvas exactly like this because it's very hard to draw every single angle with everything facing up this way. Just hold press E. They'll change it to the little finger. You can type your exact angle, or you simply can rotate right inside the viewport. You can click on that, and it'll go straight to what it used to be, or rotate exactly at specific angles. That way, you can, let's say you rotate exactly at 90, then you get exactly at 90. You can always reset and go back to the original. Holding space will allow you to move your canvas around. Control-Alt-0 or Command-Alt-0 will allow you to basically change your canvas to the actual size. Control-plus, Control-minus, zoom in, zoom out. So watch, Control-Alt-0, bam, actual size. I just recommend playing with this tool a bit more. It's really cool, the things you can do. Make sure you can go between the two different type of layers you have here. One is for watercolor, one is for your more traditional paints. For example, if I want to go back to, say, another traditional paint, let's see, let's try oils. I make sure I'm on the proper layer, and I paint right in there. And you start getting what you need to paint. Like I said, it doesn't affect the other layer because you have watercolor layers and normal layers. Of course, you can always go back to your watercolor layer and play with it in there. Just experiment with all these layers and you'll kind of get used to it. Sume, these are like the Japanese ink. It's on the wrong layer, so some of you might recognize the style. There it goes. The really strong brush strokes. So yeah, that's generally how Painter works. I recommend playing with it. If you're on a laptop, be forewarned because it is very processor intensive. There's a possibility you might overheat. A laptop of mine in the past would always overheat. using Painter. So you can try to find a older version, let's say Painter 9 or Painter 8. That should be a lot less processor intensive. The more current ones are very heavy. So that's Painter in a nutshell. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial.